basically just realized we don't have a boat. But my friends were like, you shouldn't try to fight him. Why didn't you go fight him? I was like, I don't know, because I would have had to swim over to that fight. I don't know how intimidating that is for a guy to see a head in a life jacket floating his way. And then I got to get in the boat. Have you ever tried to climb into a boat from water? It's not aggressive. It takes an hour if no one is in the boat. I would need his help. That's how that fight would start. Oh, thank you. Is this, all right. We fight a lot, my wife and she'll just if we get in a fight, she'll give me the silent treatment. And the silent treatment is very common. Everybody knows what it is. And I think you're just born knowing it. I don't think you're taught it. You know, it's just like something that's inside of you. Here's what made me realize that. I was rewatching the movie Sixth Sense. And look, I'm not trying to do a 6-inch joke. This is a 20-year-old movie. I mean, look how old he is now, Haley Joel Osment. It's that many years ago. That's the baby. It's 20 years old. I also have to spoil it for you, but again, it's 20 years old. So if you haven't seen it by now, then I don't know what to tell you. But think about when you saw this movie for the first time. None of us knew he was dead too, by the way, just so you know. And if you haven't seen it, like, that's a pretty big part of it. But for those that have, think about when you saw this movie for the first time, none of us knew he was dead. That was the biggest surprise we've ever seen in a movie. We just thought his wife wasn't talking to him for like a year. That made more sense to us than him possibly being dead. And they don't hide him dying. A guy shoots him with a gun to start the movie. And we watched it for 2 hours, just like, this is what a movie about marriage. This is what marriage is like. Even if you get shot, it's your fault. We have a daughter as well. And when my daughter was to be born, I'm from Nashville. And when she was to be born, we were living in New York, but she was not born in New York. We flew home. She was born in Tennessee. I don't need her growing up thinking she's better than me. So I was like, you start where we start. All right. Back then, they just said they looked at her as they smoked in her face. These were real doctors. They were like, oh no. She's rude, I'll tell you that.
I remember I would fall out of a bunk bed. I slept in a bunk bed. I was on a bunk, and I would get over a railing and just fall 6 feet to the ground and just land. I mean, you don't catch yourself. It's just whatever hits first. All your body weight just lands on your head. I got a full-blown concussion. I'm crying. My parents are like, just go back to a deep sleep for 7 hours. I've had concussions in my life, and none of them because of sports. Just living life, man, you know? Stuff happens to your head. What are you gonna do? One was in high school. I got pushed into a wall head first. It took them 3 class periods to figure out I had a concussion. That's how much I was bringing to the table. I mean, 2 teachers didn't even notice. And the third one was like, he wasn't forward. And that's when I realized he's one of the better facer forwards I've ever had. So I knew. My biggest concussion was when I was 12 years old. I fell down. I grew up in Old Hickory, Tennessee. And we used to climb down this cliff into Old Hickory Lake. And we'd done it a ton of times. And so one day I slip and fall. So my friend that I'm with, he goes and gets my mom. They're fishing in a boat down in the lake, and so he sees me and he gets me into the boat and he takes me over to some stairs, which he had to be like, why didn't he just use these stairs? I mean, they were right next to that cliff. Like, it didn't even make sense. There was 2 guys at the bottom of the steps, and he goes, hey, this kid fell, can you carry him up? So they carry me up, and my mom's in an ambulance in her pajamas. My dad, who I think everybody knows now is a magician, and he's doing a show in a full tuxedo. So when they get to the hospital, the doctor starts talking to my parents. I mean, my mom looks homeless. My dad's in a tuxedo. It looks like they're divorced and someone's not paying child support. So we have never known who was in the boat or the guys that carried me up those stairs. We've never known who it was. And we always wanted to thank them. I mean, those guys truly saved my life. And we could just never find out who it was. So we've never known. So I tell you that to tell you, last year, my dad he's doing a show. He does these magic shows in prisons. So he's doing a show in a prison. And during the show, one of the inmates just stands up and says, "I know your son," which is probably not the best place as a father to hear that. Just like, "I know your boy. He keeps his mouth shut. He's good people." So my dad, he goes, "Hey," he's like, "All right." He goes, "How do you know my son?" And he was one of the guys that carried me up those stairs that day. I mean, I promise, I was 12 years old, and we've never known who carried me up those stairs. And it was him and his brother. And then his brother saw me on the Tonight Show and was like, "That's that kid that we carried up those stairs that day." So pretty crazy. And so since then, I've been actually bringing him out to shows. Bringing him out tonight. And no, he's not here. He's in prison. But yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Look, he would love to be here, trust me. I mean, yeah, he'd kill to be here, to be honest. But there's one day I'll get him. I did find out why he was in prison, which was crazy. It was that same day. They just carried a body down those stairs. And you can imagine the frustration to then be handed another body. And you're like, "Dude, are you serious right now? Like, we just did this, man, you know?" All right, that part I made up. But the rest of it's true. So I was born in 1979. And the reason I say that, because if you are my age or just right around my age, very like maybe 78 to 80, you might realize, or maybe you don't know, I've never been called a millennial or Generation X. I've never even really heard any of those terms growing up. And now you hear them all the time. So I looked it up to try to see, I was like, what am I? And I'm technically nothing. I'm on a cusp. I'm a generation gap. And what we are called Zennials, or we're called the Oregon Trail generation, or we are called, my favorite name is the lucky ones. And it's true, we're very lucky. We actually grew up in two different worlds. When I was a kid, I grew up like it was the 50s. Like you would go out and your parents just didn't know where you were. We went to school and played Oregon Trail on a computer at school. No one had a computer at home. It's like, what are you, a zillionaire? Like, I mean, you could. But then in high school, I had AOL. You know, we had a computer at home. Then I got a beeper. And then I got a cell phone. I didn't have social media.
I played baseball. And when I was 13, I was playing baseball. One time I was up to bat, and I got walked. So I take my base, I get to first base, and I turned around, and the catcher was still standing there, and he was holding the ball. He's like staring at me, like he was daring me to run. And I was like, "All right, dude, I'm going to go." So I ran. He threw it over through second base. Ball goes in the outfield. I run to third base. The outfield grabs the ball. They overthrow third base. My third base coach is telling me to go home. This is about to be an inside the park home run off a walk. I won't be on SportsCenter. This is the biggest play that's ever happened in baseball. I slide, there's a play at the plate, and the umpire then tells us that it was only ball 3. This is exactly true. So, I've got to get up, everybody's got to get up. I got to get my bat right where I left it. I got a bat again. It's 3 balls, 2 strikes. Next pitch, immediately strike out. I'm exhausted and just over baseball. Here's what I learned though that day. Here's what I learned. I learned that if you're confident, you can get away with quite a bit. Because no one tried to stop me, and they should have. They knew I wasn't supposed to go. That's why the catcher was holding the ball, because he was like, "I don't think he's supposed to be going yet." And then I just run to second. He's like, "Guess I'm wrong. No one's that dumb." And then he launches it into the outfield, who's barely paying attention. The umpire figures it out, but it's just easier to let me get back to him. No one ever told the parents either. No one ever explained it to them. and they were cheering pretty hard. It's a pretty exciting play to watch. And they just see me slide into home and just stand up and bat again. Like that's just a rule in baseball. And you know what? What's funny too? The year before, I got a legit triple off a walk. So in that moment, I'm like, this is just what I do. You know, like I was like, don't walk me. Like this is my thing. All right. I'm a pretty dumb guy.
Hours, so probably had it. I had one friend, he told me he had it in 2015. Convinced. He goes, I had it in 2015. I was the first, and it just didn't catch on like it has now. But I can tell you one thing that's gone forever is coughing in public. That's a wrap. I mean, you drink water wrong at a restaurant, just go walk in traffic. The whole restaurant just stops. Your table would be like, get out of here. Get out of here. And you know who that's going to hurt the most to cough in public? My parents. That's what I feel, because that's one of their favorite things to do, cough in public. They love it. That's all they do. They cough everywhere. My dad's choking constantly. If he's not choking, that's when we get worried. That's how much choking he's doing. We go to a restaurant, and they're like, is you okay? I'm like, oh, I didn't even, yeah, that's just what he does, you know?
Silver War, that's how I say it. Instead of civil, I go Silver War. Because, you know, look, that might be on me, all right? I'm not. I tell you, I don't even know anything about the Silver War. So we would go watch my dad. So my dad would do magic. Right next to him, they had a donkey jumping off a high dive into a pool. So pretty hard to keep everybody's attention. When my dad is like, is this your card? And everybody, this donkey's about to jump off this high dive. That's something you don't think you want to see till it's up there. And I use the word jump very loosely. These donkeys are falling off this high dive. But you can't put that on the sign, you know? You don't watch a donkey fall off a high dive? No? Okay. What if he jumped? Well, at least he's into it. So the donkey would go up this ramp like 40 feet in the air, and it would just stand there because it doesn't want to jump. It's not in on this. So, but it gets stuck because donkeys can't walk backwards. Not positive if that is true, but I've never seen a donkey go backwards. I've never even really looked, but I honestly think 45 years I would have seen a couple donkeys go backwards. So the donkey stays there, and he sends a dog up the ramp. It barks at the donkey, and the donkey jumps in the pool. And as someone that has seen this, I'll tell you, when that donkey hits the water, you're like, we should probably get out of here. It's not as fun as you thought it would be.